Da 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 da. Welcome to another special one-off tripod. Specifically, you read the title. We're talking about Killer Dinner. What we like to say is the best thing we've ever made.
We're here with Rachel.
Rachel is here. Rachel directed and did a lot of work on Killer Dinner. We all did a lot of work, but I'd say that you had to actually keep track of what the hell was going on while it was happening. Before we even get to how do we do it? What was happening behind the scenes? When you look at this show compared to everything else we make, why did we make this?
Because it's dope.
Well, of course.
What do you mean, why do we make it?
Did you always know that? Did you always know it was going to be as dope as it is?
Okay, I mean, why? This is it takes a village.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our team here, the second try team, just on their own, we're doing a brainstorm about 2 years ago at this point and thinking about things that they were interested in. And one of the things, they just said murder mystery. And they didn't know what that meant, but they thought that sounded cool. Mm-hmm. And I overheard, and I love murder mystery games. I used to do murder mysteries in college, so my buddy would do these really elaborate 3-act plays where you all had characters and you would find out information about each other as it went on. It was so fun. And then he started throwing them as parties where you would you could only know one other person there max. So you would dress up in theme, and it was it's literally my favorite memories of life.
Fun.
But all of the lying games, things like Secret Hitler is a game I love to play. On the Clock Tower, I'm obsessed with Mafia.
Werewolf.
And it is my favorite thing to yell at my friends and find out who's lying. I love them more than anything. So I heard this, and my brain just started exploding with ideas. And I was talking about it. I was like, oh my God, we got to make a murder mystery show. Oh my God, this is going to be the best. And then Nick overheard us talking about it, and he brought it home. And his husband, Paul, is a huge fan of these shows, specifically Traitors. And he heard this and goes, bitch, I know what this show is. Came back to us with the pitch of what if it's a dinner party and you cut into foods and when you cut into foods it they bleed and they ooze and that's how you reveal the murderer.
Mm-hmm. And it was called Killer
Dinner right out the gate.
Yeah.
And he brought that back. He just was like, hey, I know this is out of left field, but we were talking about this at dinner and we got really excited. And then he says it to us. Rachel overhears and goes, nah, bitch, I know what that show is. And it just became this chain of events. And then you started working on it. We all started working on it together. We did months, literal months of gameplay testing where we brought in every single board game and we played them. And we just said, what do we like about this? What do we not? Mm-hmm. And it was so thrilling. And then I remember we were going to originally film it in August when I was going to be on paternity leave. And I was so devastated, but I was like, no, this is okay. And so literally the last day before paternity leave, I was like, no, they're going to do it without me. I need to give them every single idea. And I literally locked myself in a room and because we were struggling on some of the gameplay stuff.
The structure, the skeleton of the show. How does it work?
The week before your paternity leave, we were working on it together. And
you guys were doing secret gameplay tests.
Yeah, but we were just
at that point we were still coming up with
bopping around ideas of how the gameplay actually functioned. We knew how people got murdered. We knew the dining room table, but we didn't have the thing. And that's when you came up with the kitchen games.
The conclave, as
I
like to call it.
Conclave.
Well, and it was specifically the thing that was driving me crazy and sorry, my critique of Traitors, am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
It is which I think is a phenomenal show.
Great show.
But the thing that I was adamant about when I was playing some of these other games is that there needs to be some mechanism of discovering lies.
Yeah.
If it's just social deduction, then you get into a place of vibes, whatever. I think the games are more fun when people have actions that they're trying to do. And then I was telling you about Blood on the Clock Tower and how fun that is. And every time we sat down to watch a video, Rachel was like, and I'm out. And it was that feeling of when you show a friend a really funny YouTube video. And
you watch them and they don't laugh.
And they don't laugh.
And immediately I just was I felt it as soon as I hit play. I'm like, this is too complicated. There's too many roles. We're spending the first 10 minutes. So I'm like, okay, it needs to be clean. It needs to be simple. I'm sorry that I'm talking so much. I'm so passionate about
but
that.
also games like Mafia or something like that, they're also incredibly visually dull.
Sure.
So we were like, well, how do we make it? We can't just have everyone sit at a table and argue. That's dull visually and just not what excites us to produce. So then when you thought of the games and voting for that, I'm like, okay, cool. And then we thought well, it's a dinner party. There's a cocktail hour. So there needs to be a cocktail lounge.
And that was something that you, I think, had brought from the beginning, Rachel. I think.
We need spaces to explore.
I mapped out where the scenes took place and did it in a rotation. So every episode you're going through these different locations, and I did the number of locations we could create within our office. But what I was going to say, which is only so many.
0.25.
But what I was going to say is one of our guiding principles was the beginning of the game has to be able to start with, I've been killed and one of you did it. And nothing more explanation than that, or it's too much. When people start explaining board games to me, my mind goes blank. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
And it was a tough balance because we want something that people who love that shit, like if you love board games, which I do, we want something that you can obsess over and think about the gameplay, but it also just needs to be clean. Like that tip of the spear's got to cut. So then the conclave was that eureka moment of like, okay, you elect people and they're the team captain and now you're doing games. And conclave, by the way, it's based on popes and the movie Conclave, which I love. I don't know why I was thinking about
you
that
saw
movie.
the movie and you thought, that's it.
But
Eureka!
I'd seen the movie a year before.
Eureka!
But anyway, that was then the moment where we go, great. Because we also don't have a cast of 30. We have a cast of whatever. No. So if you win, you get to banish somebody, and if you lose, you get to murder. And then we were like, boom, we got a show.
You did show up, and you go, I've solved it.
It was the greatest feeling in the world.
Okay, so before we get into any of the nitty-gritty of things, because I just want to say...
Did I answer why?
I think so.
Okay, sorry,
it was
go
a little why.
Why?
And a little,
because you
little
love it.
Why and a little how. But before we go any further... Spoilers ahead. I'm sure we're going to have to say some spoilers just to explain the process. And also, fun little announcement, because this has been so beloved by you guys and by us, we're talking about it all the time. We're doing a special live watch party for the finale, and we're holding the finale episode to air in the evening so everybody can watch it together, so we can watch it with you, so we can chat along with you. And there's going to be some social promos out. Maybe you've already seen them, but really want this to be a big culmination of all of us watching it together on second try. So tell your friends, get people on board with the platform if they haven't seen it, because the more successful this show is and this month is on second try, the more likely we can make a season 2.
We need you.
Because we did this first one on a shoestring budget. And
I know people think that this show is like, damn, they got budget.
No, this is blood, sweat, and tears.
Everyone keeps commenting budget, and if you only knew.
If you only knew. It's really just work and really trying and passion. I said a very cute thing when we were doing our screening of the first episode that, like, in Hollywood, they say to make anything work, you need time, money, and talent. But you actually only need 2 of 3. But we had just enough talent that we actually only needed 1 because we did it really fast. We did it with very little money, but we did it with a really great cast, a really great production team, really great DPs, really great set designers, Rachel being a great director. I wasn't so bad as a host. And like,
dude, you killed it.
It really is like
killed.
Lots of really good stuff. And even like Jack, who's on our 1s and 2s right now, being able to help operate doing Ghost Kitchen and this too. Like logistically, we were actually doing 2 shows at once in 2.5 days.
And poor Jack got given almost no instructions on Ghost Kitchen.
Yeah.
Put him in the van, hand him these cards. It'll work itself out.
Okay,
and Jack did pick the snacks himself. It was all Jack.
That was going to be one of the questions. So I have questions here from Discord, which is why I'm on my phone. And there are so many questions, and I need to tell them. I'm sorry, I can't
told
possibly.
you get 100 in 5 minutes.
Or that I can read.
We breezed right over that, but we made it in 2.5 filming days.
2.5 filming days and a half day for like press photography.
That's the half day.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 filming days and a half day of marketing.
We got a little bit of filming in on the night of the first day because we did all the first interviews the night before we started filming to get those just done. And then all the other times the interviews are happening, it's happening during the cocktail hour. So that's why, like, when you're watching the cocktail hour, like, where's that person? They're in an interview with Rachel.
So this is a good place to start, I think. And we will let you know when we're about to hit hard spoilers. But I think for now we can go spoiler free, or at least the first episode, which is on YouTube if you haven't watched it. Yeah. So the first question comes from Ives Lokis. Ives Loki wants to know about how we chose the killer, who chose and how and why did you choose that person?
It was me. I chose the killer.
So
and
Keith
in fact,
and you genuinely
Keith
didn't know.
even know.
I asked not to know because it's a burden to have the information, and as a host, I didn't want to look at anyone too much. I didn't want to say anything that I shouldn't say. So, and I knew eventually I'd have to know, but I was like, at least let me get through the first big heavy script without looking at anyone.
And I kept...
Also, real quick shout out because CRJ and also Chert, a lot of people asking this same question. So
I kept people out of the dining room where we sat at the dinner table. So production people who might be around and watching, but not actually like operating cameras or running sound on that scene would normally hang out. And I kept them all out because the less people who knew who the killers were, the less likely chance there was that someone slipped up.
Oh yeah, like the production, the staff didn't know.
No one knew.
Like
the cam ops knew, sound knew, Keith and I knew, and that was it. But you don't want people watching the killers. You don't want any of that. So, and even when we prepped like the cards that Chris could pull from, that's a spoiler. Even even when we prepped the cards to reveal each person's either guest or killer identity, I had a bunch prepped and I went and did them in secret. And I accidentally lost a killer card among all the cards, which were handwritten in calligraphy. It had gotten tucked behind a guest card. And so we had to rip them all open and do them all again.
Yep.
Poor Leslie.
How funny that would have been if somebody pulled out two.
No, it would have ruined everything.
So why did you decide ultimately on the killer that you chose?
So I had a strategy going in to all the initial interviews we did the night before the first day of principal photography, and I had a strategy in that I structured the interviews to start with people I knew I wasn't going to choose, and I had all the players talk about each other.
Who was the first person who recorded?
I think you.
God damn it! I was so like. God, I wanted to be a killer so bad.
You knew you can't be the killer.
I know, but I wanted to be.
It's you.
That's why it's the
game.
Yeah, you knew too much.
Yeah.
It was your demise, ultimately.
Which, by the way, Zach helped design the game, but then at some point, we kicked him out. Because I was like, everything we've written with specificity, we have to change now that you've had
Zach
eyes
got
on
kicked out, and then I came into the fold because we didn't know if I was going to potentially be a contestant because we were like down to the wire on casting. So we were like, and just so everyone knows, I don't want to play this game. I want to host it. I like hosting it, but I don't like games where I lie to people. But I would have done it for the team if we needed to, and we were going to figure out we'll get someone else to host, and Keith will play because it's just he knows how to perform this way. But I jumped in, and all I did at the end, honestly, was like help rearrange things with Rachel for games and
You're
structures.
Underplaying it. The on-the-fly producing that both of you did was exceptional.
Oh, yes. Once we started going, then I feel like I was doing a lot. But like in the 4 days before filming, it was like, we got to change this game. This game won't work like this. And then we're like, and how are we going to shoot this? And then that was when I think when you got kicked out, I had to come in and really think of like with Rachel, just so no one's operating in a vacuum and figure out like how do these things work? And script tweaking.
We're really jumping around. I didn't even answer the other question.
We stick on our question?
Oh, sorry. So how the killer was chosen. So I brought in people I knew I wasn't going to choose, like Zach. I'm so sorry. I didn't trust Kwesi to do it. I knew some people, and I left all the people who I thought it could be, Ash, Sequoia, Ryan Graham, YB, for the end. And I had all the players talk about each other. They all talked about the other ones. And so I picked someone whose name never came up.
And what you said is that every single person gave reasons why they would be a good killer and why they'd be a terrible killer.
But Sequoia...
Spoiler.
Well, that's okay. That's the episode 1 spoiler.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know. Say it. She's in the first episode.
Yeah. Sequoia
walked in, sat down, and was like, oh, I'd only be a killer. I mean, if you make me a guest, I'll play and I'll win with it. But I am a killer.
She was born to be a killer.
She was born to be a killer. Yeah. She licked the knife. She licked the knife. I was like, that's from a prop house. That's not clean.
But it was thrilling. It's a beautiful knife.
Another question from Purple Puffle. Who had the most strat going into the game?
Well, actually, I think we have to talk about the surprise run of Kwesi James.
Yeah.
Because when he described his alliances and his plan for alliances to me, I was like, you're out of your mind. But it actually was kind of incredible.
It was brilliant. I mean, when we watched, so like there's so much that I didn't get to see because we weren't in the confessionals. And, you know, also when we're watching the cocktail hour, it was gibberish. It's just a bunch of people whispering.
It's like 4 conversations happening in whispers.
So when we finally saw that first cut of Quasi and all of his alliances, Keith and I both were like, he's the smartest man in the world.
Yeah.
He is literally the most brilliant man in the world.
Episode 3, you're like, oh, shoot. Quasi is a genius. And we were
Quasi
all...
is a genius.
Here's the thing. Never underestimate Quasi James. That's a life lesson.
That's a life lesson. Yeah, I mean, we were talking, Ryan Graham was here yesterday, and we were talking about how he is the most profound person we know, and it, like, he'll go from being the goofiest to being like, holy shit.
It's true.
This is a really good question, and then I have a brand new news for you, Keith, that's popping up on your phone, too. So CRJ wants to know, and then this is good because I have a live update on my phone about this.
Oh.
But CRJ asks, how tense did dynamics get between people because of the game?
Not that intense, I think. Like in the game,
game?
everyone's in the game.
Intense.
Just like when you play a board game with your friends for that hour, it's intense. And then after you're like, hey, let's put on a movie. And you're like, it's totally back to normal.
I mean,
Yeah.
the most intense that it got was obviously episode 4. If you
Sure.
have not seen the spoiler, between Chris and Ryan Garcia is electric television.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it was done, he was laughing so hard about it, and he's like, man, I got into it.
Yeah.
So, like, people were, I think, delighted by how intense it got. But it's I mean, there were real emotions in that set. What about in the confessional?
Everyone, when they walked into the confessional, sat down and went, oh. Because it was like the only time they could like tell the truth fully and relax.
There's also something to the fact that this was shot over 2 days. By the time the finale rolls around, like I watched the cut earlier today, people are exhausted.
They're
and then
really
Then they
tired.
get back into it, but like you can see, this is like they've been taking punches.
Yeah,
And like,
it's a lot.
Unfortunately for them, there was an evening in between shoots, which when you're in something like that, I can only imagine they didn't sleep.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
You're
yeah,
just
yeah,
running.
yeah.
You're just running ideas through your brain for 2 hours, being like, "Here's why with them. Here's what I shoot tomorrow."
I slept like
Tomorrow
a
I'm gonna do
baby.
that.
I got killed.
Yeah, I was also totally fine.
So this is the live update. I have the group chat of the Killer Dinner cast, and this is not fake.
Killer Diners.
Just this second, Ryan Graham texts, just watched episode 4. Okay, big spoilers here. Just watched episode 4, and Ryan's response to Chris was very normal. Chris absolutely turned us against him for no reason.
I agree.
I'm so sorry, Ryan. We should have listened to you.
I totally agree. I sort of thought Chris was in the right while we were shooting it. And then when I watched it back the first time, I was like, oh shit, Ryan Garcia, totally valid response.
And then YB, who did an excellent edit of that episode, just chimed in and said, I did tone it down a little bit in the edit because Ryan was very mad. And Ryan just went, Garcia goes, hey, YB, didn't need to know that.
Do you know
funny.
that Ryan Garcia bought Let Them Theory after shooting this?
Yes. Which is great. Just something about like when people do things that bother you, just let them
let
and just
them.
focus on your own issues.
Just let them.
God, that's funny.
Chris had the craziest gameplay.
Which is great. I mean, he comes from playing lots of these games, almost similar to Zach. He has a friend group where they do really big ones even now.
I'd say more than me.
And they're like really scripted, and they like rent Airbnbs. It's like a 2-day game. Like, so he does this almost IRL. So he was very like well suited. And the surprise is that like he was someone who came in because we had some other people drop out from sickness.
and
I was really excited that he
he's
got
so
in because I'm like,
good.
oh, he's gonna crush. But we just really wanted our core Try Guys, cast to be the people who would pilot the show. We love all the people we work with, but it's like, oh, let's give our core group the chance. But when people were unavailable, we reached out to the other people we love working with, and Chris was right there to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a star in this.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful he did it.
This is a 2-part question from Rat Boy and then regularly sized Dre. So Rat Boy wants to know, how did you choose the meals? And then at the same time, regular size Ray wrote, what's the details behind the menu? The chef, who picked what dishes and why?
Fun.
Well, Monique Chan did the dishes, which was honestly the greatest gift anyone has ever given me.
Two Michelin star pastry chef.
Two Michelin star pastry chef. And because we played games in the kitchen, we couldn't even give her the kitchen. We had to set up a mock kitchen for her in our conference room.
Yeah, she only used the oven once, and then everything else had to be done in a conference room on induction burners.
And a table.
And a table.
We tried to structure it. I structured it like appetizer, soup course, main course, cheese
sort
course,
of a French
dessert.
dinner.
It was French.
Yeah.
We knew we had 6 episodes, fish course. But then it was mostly about choosing things that were visual. And there are some things you never got to see that I don't think I should tell you about, because what if we put them in season 2 now?
We might do it again. Yeah, because like sometimes there's a banishment, which means there's no poison, which means the food has no fun reveal. But every food had a version of it that has a reveal, because we never knew when they would win, when they wouldn't.
Yep. So
every
there were
game,
always extras made.
Every game was challenging, but every game was winnable.
Yes, and actually that's a great thing for everyone to know, is that we tested the games with production, with the same amount of players and the same time limits, and production could do it.
Yeah. So it was doable.
And some of post-production. And in fact, we had a different photo on it. And because we were testing it, Zach walked by and saw it and was like, hey, that thing is cool. And I was like, well, reprint the puzzle.
Yep. Yeah, that was a bummer for the whole. I didn't mean to. I walked into the office and it was right there. And I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
This is a question that I've gotten from my buddies who have watched. They were like, okay, so like, you picked the killer, and I'm like, yeah, and it's like, okay, and then did you like tell the killer who to pick? I'm like, no. And they're like, what about the games? It's like, no. And what about who got the pantry key? No.
No, that's all fully random.
Reality TV. Now, we don't have like something that I think is nice is that we don't have a $200,000 cash prize. So we don't actually like classic reality TV have to go through certain legal procedures.
Right.
And so we don't have to. Which makes it like allows us to, as producers, like shape the game in a way that we think is fun. But that said, I don't even know why I'm saying that, because you didn't.
We didn't. I mean, it's just that like, yeah. So I've been on some reality like competition shows, and like it's very like they don't want to get sued. Once there's a real cash prize, there's real statistics. That means that producers can't manipulate it, or else you could say like, you made me lose, I'm suing you, because there was really something to gain. We don't have that big of. I mean, the prize is incredible, and I can't wait for you to see what the prize is, because it is absolutely worth it. But it's not $200,000.
It sure isn't.
It's close.
It's
priceless.
It's priceless. The value is it does have a valuation.
It has
actually,
a value,
but it's priceless.
So this question from Rewel is, how much input did the cast have on wardrobe? Because damn. So let's talk about the wardrobe, and then I also want to talk about set deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how did costuming work?
Well, I pulled a bunch of dope ass images off the internet, and I pulled outfits that I thought were in the vibes of each person. Like I knew who I was thinking about when I pulled it, and I sent it to the cast, and then they all sent me wardrobe photos. And Ryan Graham's look I nailed down first, and then each person I'd be like, well, you can't wear all black. Miles is in all black. Well, you can't wear this. She's wearing that. And so the cast really, they provide their own wardrobe, and they followed like a little style guide, and the last to pick was the last to get, good options.
Yep.
Me.
You because you were too busy doing other stuff.
Raising a child. How many?
All of us are raising children.
And I sent you so many photos being like, is this okay? And you're like, yeah, it's okay. And I'm like, I don't like it. How about this one?
How about this one?
And I finally found an outfit that was okay. But I sent you, I think, 14 different combos.
Yeah.
So I was
you
very
sure
insecure.
Did. Very late in the game.
It was the morning of.
You know what we should leak? We should leak Ryan Graham's other options.
Oh yeah, they were all
good.
good. I was going to, in all the kitchen games, take off my coat because I was wearing these cute suspenders the whole time. However, it was so hot because we were doing everything so back to back, and I was wearing a suit that I was so sweaty I couldn't take off my coat. I was like, this shirt is so sweaty in the armpit region that I was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to stay in this hot suit for 2 days straight.
2 days.
And then get it dry cleaned.
I did tell everyone, pick an outfit you can wear for 2 days. No crazy shoes, because some of the kitchen games are really physical, and make sure your hair and makeup can stay the same the entire time.
Right.
All of that is for continuity. So any interview you do at any point can be used for anything.
Yeah.
And we can't create continuity spoiler issues for ourselves.
Right.
So
also
everyone had to
no
look
one can
identical.
get a cut on their face at any point in filming, because then
That
you
would
know.
have been bad.
Something that we all, whatever you said just made me think about this too, but something that was important to us is, and I think you maybe were the first one that pointed this out, is that everyone played themselves. A murder mystery, you could
You
imagine.
play character.
I'm the inspector, and I come down from the big city to find out what's going on. And it just, I mean, we've done some things with light characters, and we found we just like it less, especially for a game like this. I want to see the real people.
For a game like this especially, I have a character affectation because I'm not playing
No,
the
yeah,
game.
you're the-
right. So
you're
that's
the
why
host.
You're dead
that's
Keith.
why it works, is because everyone else is being so serious. I actually need to be a little bit goofier and larger than life so that it helps you breathe as a viewer. Because if I was just totally tonality normal Keith, it'd be too intense the whole time.
And honestly, something that bothers me about traitors, is that sacrilege?
I know
Because
it is.
I'm obsessed. I don't like when they talk about the murdered person as if they were really murdered. I'm
yeah,
like,
every time
but
they kill someone on that show, it's like the saddest music ever played. I'm like, you guys know
they're still alive.
they're going back to the hotel.
yeah, they're paid. They got paid.
It's a game.
It doesn't bother me enough not to watch every single episode that's ever been made forever and ever. But I like that the interlocking pieces and your hosting does not play into that kind of a feeling. It's a little more frivolous and a lot more fun in
Yeah.
that way.
And it's funny.
And
The
it
show is
funny.
funny. I think that's something that makes it different from other shows like this. Is like it's still very funny,
Mm-hmm.
both in the surprises and the people cracking jokes, because there's a bunch of comedians in there, so it's funny and charming.
The perfect encapsulation of that is your exit, where you're
Oh.
like, well, you're all going to get what you deserve. And everyone's looking around and the room is silent and you're walking out and you come back and you go, thanks, I had a great time.
This was really fun. Thanks for having me.
I said this to the cast.
It's all skin and bones in mine.
It's the best.
Oh man, oh damn! It's all skin and bones and mine.
To me, episode 3, and I won't spoil specifically if you haven't had a chance to watch. Though if you're this far in the episode, you're not listening
this far,
to
you've
this.
watched it.
You're not listening to this unless you care. But just for the sake of imagination,
Yep.
I'll go spoiler free. In episode 3, for the kitchen game, one person has just been betrayed. Every single person has been chosen to play a game except for this one person who thought that they had it all, like that they had the control. And it's like this moment of like, damn, the tables just turned on this person. They have been backstabbed by all their friends. And then the very next time you see them, they are leading a dance and just being goofy and
dancing.
cheering on their friends and having a good time. And it's so delightful and joyous. And to me, that, is the thing that sets us apart, is that it has all the tension of any of these shows and these games. And it's high stakes and people care and they're playing their hardest, but these are friends who know each other and are having so much fun, and it's a beautiful thing.
And that vibe is also why we will never have a significant prize on any of our competition shows.
Yeah.
Because everyone gets paid the same, no matter what you do, because we want to encourage joy in the failure.
Yeah. That game specifically is the game where people are saying I'm having a jigsaw moment, because it's the last man standing.
Yeah.
Which actually, when we wrote that game, it
Which was
just
a Keith idea
It was just
at
normal
the
musical
last
chairs.
second.
Well, but I was reading the way that you wrote the script, and it says the last man standing. But technically, that's the person who gets second place, because
So
the game
good.
is about sitting.
It's insane.
So I'm like, let's do that. That's a fun and also a lot of engineering this show is making sure there's a twist every episode somewhere, some surprise, whether it's, and now there's like a tool that gives someone a power, or the dynamic of this is changing next episode. We want to have a twist so that you're like, the show's changing. And even something as little as that is just a place where there shouldn't be a twist. in the kitchen game. It's
It
straightforward.
was brilliant.
But I was like, oh, there's a place where we can put a funny joke here.
yeah.
If you
And-
guys don't know, I've been writing a newsletter weekly, which has been fun. So get on that if you haven't been. But the one that I wrote this week was how the show The Good Place helped us unlock part of the edit structure, where that show, every episode ended with a twist. And it wasn't just like cliffhanger. It was something that fundamentally changed the show and spun it into a new direction. And so, because we left ourselves a lot of flexibility. This is something cool to talk about. Like, we knew that this was serialized, and so we were going to have a choice of where to end the episodes.
Right.
And we had some ideas, and Rachel had her doc and, like, wrote it out, but we knew, like, maybe this episode ends before someone is killed, or maybe, you know, like, there's a couple choices. And what we realized was the most satisfying was, one, you need some sort of full arc.
You need a payoff.
You need a payoff, but every episode can't just end after the payoff. There needs to be some new element that spins the game into a new direction.
Right.
And so in the first episode, the killer decides that they need an accomplice. There are now 2 killers. Boom. The second episode, the ending, now the killers are going to have to kill people in a way that is going to put them in jeopardy in front of everyone else. Boom. Third episode, now one of the good players has a piece of information that no one else has. And what are they going to do with that information? Boom.
New show.
And we kept spinning that. And, you know, we didn't do perfect. It's crazy to say this is our, like, it's the first season, it's a pilot. It's a pilot season. But I think we did a pretty damn good job of it. And I think that's part of what makes the edit so thrilling, too.
We did a good job. Luck was on our side with how things fell. With the way that people suspected one another correctly or incorrectly, it just like made it really thrilling. I'm so happy to say that for all the people who are excited about the finale, it's thrilling till the bitter end.
Yep.
It is twists and turns all the way down that slide, baby. It is wild.
And luck was on our side, but also, Keith, you and I, like the morning of, would change which game went into which episode.
Oh yeah, we changed.
because
We literally
of-
changed a full game out.
There were different plans for different areas of gameplay in case, like, what if the killers got banished in episode 1? What are we gonna
what if
do? We
both
still
were
have to make
caught?
a show.
We have to figure out, like, how do we get a new killer in there?
Yeah.
Like, what if?
Yeah, you need so many contingency plans.
Yeah,
which
because
is
we need to
so-
get a certain amount of episodes because we're sort of budgeting on how many pieces of content we get so that we can make sure it lasts a nice long time for our viewers to have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's interesting on the idea of this as a pilot, but as a season. And we talked initially of like, well, we're about to invest a lot into this big show. Like, should we test it first? Should we like, and I think about this from a marketing perspective. I think it probably would have been, I don't know if better, but certainly easier if we had had some episode on Try Guys that was a one-off so that people go, oh shit, they're making a whole season of this thing.
Right.
But whenever we talked about that, I was like, first of all, the game as designed needs to play out over several courses. And I also like, I don't want to make the shittier version of this. I want to make the
People won't like it as much.
And then
we
they-
won't like it as much.
and if we make the one-off, then why would they come? So it's like we just need to believe, and we did a lot. I mean, we were originally supposed to shoot this in August. It released in March. So we really pushed this back to make sure that we were like we knew what the hell we were doing, and that we had a good feeling that this would hit. But that goes back to, like, we did this on a very tight timeline, a very tight budget. I don't think people would believe if we said it. And I would love to hear about, like, you had to make not a lot of money look really, like, luxe. And the set deck is, like, gorgeous, but it is not, like, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So because we had such a tiny and tight budget, one of the things I did, and we were working with a brand new production designer
Who knocked it out of the park.
who did an incredible job. And I could feel that maybe she felt like I had handed her something that wasn't going to work after our initial talks. I was like, over several times I would be like, but we have to do this. And she would be like, but you don't have money for that. And I was like, well, we have to do it anyway. Let's figure it out. But one of the first things I did was, even when I presented all the ideas to her, was I said, it's shot in these rooms and here are all the pieces of furniture and flats and things that we own that you're going to use across these spaces. So that was like one of the first things. It was like, here's all the sunk costs that we can grab back. And we spent, we had PAs going to some woman's house off Facebook Marketplace in Long Beach that would give us like 10 frames for $30 to make the frames, we truly...
Oh, that's for the photos of us with the red eyes, which, by the way, we get a text from Rachel like a couple days before filming of like, hey, can you just send me a photo? And I didn't know what it was for, so I had Keith snap a photo of me real quick.
A few weeks.
Okay, whatever. And then I look at it on the wall. I'm like, okay, yeah, actually, I was looking pretty good that day. Thank God.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't disclose that I was going to make it my set deck. Yeah. But using things like that, like the photo idea was one of the things I had to make it feel very custom when it is, in fact, the game time set flats,
Right. When it made everyone walking in, like we saw our photos on the wall, and we were like, we're about to do something special.
It was exciting.
We utilized candles, a lot of drapes. These things are very inexpensive. And then we used the pantry, the kitchen, and the voting setups to look really bright, clean, and not like that as a visual break from the cocktail lounge and the dining room.
And there's a million ideas that we had that we couldn't do. I wanted we wanted a top-down camera over the table. We wanted a real round table. We were originally going to put camera people in the middle of the table. It just, we worked with what we had and did a great job. I think it's important to just give a shout out to the whole team, top to bottom. Erica, who's our head of production, who produced this with us, like such a logistical, tight. We did this in 2 days and change.
Yeah, Erica AD'd the whole thing and was running talent,
which is not her job,
where they're supposed to be. It's not her job, but Erica AD's a lot of the bigger shoots. That's like one of the ways in which she participates in like Without a Recipe Live. Not just in the pre-pro, but like on the set. And we literally, she's great at it.
Couldn't do that without her. Jack running double duty, running the Ghost van.
Oh yeah, close
it up.
Really nice.
Real nice. And be sure not to turn on the AC or anything, Jack.
Maybe we'll get better snacks next time. We'll see what happens.
Probably not. Probably got to keep that snack budget tight.
It's so many people wearing so many hats, and like the post team, these edits are they're freaking awesome.
Yeah, and also just like we've never made these shows, our editors haven't edited shows like this before. So like you have to think about how good it is when you take that into account. It's not like we got some editors from reality television here in Hollywood. Like, no, it's the people who make Without a Recipe, who make Phoning It In, who make Try Guys, who make everything, and they're making this too. So it's pretty cool. I think the variety of our stuff perhaps lends our team to be able to learn quickly. Like it's almost like the mantra of the Try Guys. Like we try things and have to learn it very, very quickly and execute something pretty good. And that's sort of how our production model for shows also has to be, because we dream up something we've never made before. And we're like, well, let's make it. And I feel like we have a pretty good at bat for our big ones.
I think it's also worth mentioning Ghost Kitchen. So that's if you like this show, and if you like what you're listening to right now, podcast, and you're gonna love Ghost Kitchen. It is when the people are poisoned or voted banished, they go into a van with shitty snacks, and it's the tripod. It is the tripod with people who are pissed off that they were just exiled from a game, and then more and more people join. It's so funny.
And they're theorizing about who the killers are and what the gameplay is and what's happening, and they're not right.
No, Miles at one point said, I think we're making InfoWars. This is a conspiracy podcast.
It's fake news in there.
I guess something that's really fun and different about Killer Dinner than any other game like this is normally when you vote someone out, you find out their identity. Not on our show.
Well, because one of the twists coming up in future episodes is it was imperative that they did not know who the killer was, because they were gonna come back to play in a certain way.
Yeah.
And actually, I did a very light test of an initial round of the games, like a pretend cocktail, a pretend game, a pretend round table with everyone. And that idea, the name of that idea came from Skylar. When he walked out of there, he was like, it'd be cool to have a, and then that's where that twist came from. And I had to figure out what
A
that
ghost
meant.
kitchen or?
No.
Hey,
I see. A seance. Right.
which I love. I love that gimmick into this show.
Yeah,
Like, that works for this. It's so great.
That twist in episode 5 was my favorite hour of filming ever because of the reactions of the cast were unbelievable.
We had to add in an extra testimonial
confessional,
interview
yeah,
because the cast was so
freaking
rocked
out.
from information that they were like, I can't possibly do a kitchen game right now. We have to talk. I've got to talk.
They
I
were
can't
like,
possibly
turn the camera
go to
on.
Keith's stupid kitchen right now.
So funny. And on Ghost Kitchen, that was like what, 24 hours, 48 hours before filming, we decided to make that a show. So we had been, am I getting this wrong detailed?
It's a little
We'd been-
further back than that. I
we'd
mean,
been talking
Jack
about
and
it for a
Armando
while.
have like so many diagrams of all the ways we could take the seats out of the different vans we could afford.
That is
So-
a good point.
so
Well,
we
let's not
had-
do a disservice. Okay, let's put it. So, well,
week.
I'll say
Yeah.
this. We were talking about it because originally I was like, I wanted, okay, when someone's banished or murdered, let's go into an interview with Keith and we'll like do an exit interview and we'll hear about their theories and then get that moment where they find out who the killer is, how to live. And you were like, we can't do that because of these ideas I have for other episodes. Also, Keith's busy. Like, it just doesn't
Also,
work.
We're filming 3 episodes in a day. How am I going to lose Keith
No, it
to
doesn't
do
make
this
sense.
and 2 cameras?
But then we realized, okay, well, we have these people, and like, okay, at some point, I think Kaylin actually was like, maybe we could do a social show out of it. And so it was going to be the Ghost Kitchen where we have people like, great, once they're murdered, go have fun.
Some social stuff.
And
yeah.
then at some point we were like, and we're taking this show back. Actually, sorry, we're not going to let you have this as a social asset because this is just a show and we're going to just make it it's great. It's so fun.
So glad we did that.
It is somehow as good as the show.
Yeah, it is. It's just
So funny.
really fun. It's great personalities with a lot of anger.
so much anger, and everyone was so excited to talk about what they had experienced,
Yeah.
which I think that is very
It's like
palpable.
when you finish an escape room
Yeah.
and you're like, remember this puzzle that almost got us? And then you, Zach, you came in, you figured it out, no problem. It was huge. What a big moment. Like, I love a debrief after a fun activity.
So I only have 2 more questions I looked through all of these. There's a million questions. But first, people are asking if we're going to do a reunion special at the end of this.
It really would be fun. I mean, that feels like the thing you should do for a reality show. However, I will say the last episode of Ghost Kitchen sort of scratches that itch. I would like to do it. It's just
I think the answer is we'll see.
We're gonna see.
The Ghost Kitchen you get to see people react to it. You get to see an interview with everybody. I'll try not to spoil anything. And so you get to see that in real time. But now I will say people have watched the episodes, and like we did a live screening here together, and watching Ryan Graham's reaction to the Ash, I need a second to sit down moment, it was like, because I forgot, of course, he didn't know that. And I didn't know that until I watched. It was like, and so there is obviously some fun stuff to talk about. I will say this: if the subscriptions keep coming in, if the views keep coming in, if the demand is there, we're gonna figure out a way to do something with it.
Yeah, the truth is, we pay people. And so it's
And
not.
we got to see if everyone's
And
available.
we
we gotta get a
appreciate
crew.
that you
we gotta make it
do.
look good. You know, like it's its own production that we currently haven't budgeted. So we would like to do that. We would need sort of a surplus of money to come in, maybe from a lot of new subscribers, to help us do something like that.
I've talked plenty, but there's a question for me. Which was there was 2. One was like, was my gameplay what I expected it to be going in? And then the second
I
question,
would like to know that too.
and the second question was, what was it like to play a game that you that you helped design, and was that challenging?
Yeah.
And I will say it sucked, and I'm so disappointed in myself, and I'm so mad, and I sucked at this game. So I don't know if anyone listening, if you've had the experience of teaching a game to your friends. For me, whenever I play a game like Secret Hitler or Blood on the Clock Tower with new people, I don't want them to come out being like, well, that sucked. Zach just steamrolled us. So I sort of sit back and I don't lead the accusations. I kind of like, I want to let people do it. But then as a result, they go, Zach's being super sus. Normally he talks a lot and he's being quiet. But bam, and they kill me. And I'm always pissed off and it always sucks. And then second game, I roll up my sleeves. I'm like, all right, motherfuckers, let's play now. And so there was a little bit of that where I was like, I know things that they don't know and I'm not allowed to know. So I don't want to say it, but I need to say it. And I was sort of wrestling with that in my mind. But also, straight up, I sucked at this game. I had no idea what was going on. I really deep into the game had no theories, and obviously that is what my downfall was. Don't no, I was very bad. And
because I want to be clear, you helped design the whole game, so you knew how we were going to move through stuff. But
I
you
knew
didn't
a second
know
killer was coming. I knew
You didn't know how the second killer was chosen, how the killer found out.
Nope.
You didn't know like
how the games
would
what the
work.
games were.
So you were just a player.
Correct.
Would you come back and play again?
If you would have me.
Of course.
I also will say that my strategy going in, which is a terrible strategy, I was convinced I would get killed or voted out first. From the jump.
Right.
I was like, of course, this is my company. Obviously, I'm getting me the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And you also just assume metagame that, like, I know the most. So if I'm the killer, I'm getting you out. And if I'm banished, or trying to banish someone, I'm just, no matter what, I'm getting me out. So I was like really panicked. And I thought going in, I was going to have to defend myself. And the first thing that everyone said in the cocktail hour to me, Miles, Chris, everybody, they're like, now I know, obviously it's not you. And I was like, what? What? And it like really threw me.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be you. That
Would
way.
be bonkers.
And so then I was like, okay, maybe if I just float in the background, I won't. And of course, no. But then also going into episode 2, going into the second cocktail hour, I did a version of Ash's notebook, and I got through half a page, and all it told me was that I was about to be banished. I just was like, and that person, yep, okay. And I closed the notebook and said,
you were not helpful in the orange game by no fault of your own, by your genetics.
And that's ableist.
Just under 2 minutes left, guys.
Turns out I have the shittiest, weakest chin that ever was.
And then you laughed in the other game, which
I genuinely had no idea that happened.
You
I know you had no idea.
denied so big.
Ash was the only one who got caught, but Zach did make the sound first. So I keep thinking if Keith had heard Zach, we would have lost the game.
So I'm the person who's supposed to call out when people make a noise. I did hear you laugh. Here's why I didn't penalize the team for it. You were laughing at me.
He was being hilarious.
I was saying something funny and Zach laughed. I was like, well, that's not, I don't know. I would not want that to be the reason that something big would change in the structure of the game. And I don't think that is fair because of what you weren't making noise to help people. You weren't making noise to stop the game. You were simply responding to something I was saying.
I was honestly being, it's like I was just being on camera.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, I just
You were
need
being
to,
an audience member.
I gotta be present and give the camera stuff. I will say that, you know, I need to do a better job next season all around. But something that I need to like root out of my brain is I need to separate myself as a player and a producer because there is that little voice in the back of my head as I'm fucking up the orange game, which I'm not trying to fuck. I'm trying my darndest and I just suck at it. But I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, we're going to have a murder first episode. This is going to cut so well. Oh, this is going to be so good. Like there's and I know I'm not the killer, so suspicion's on me. Like it just is, you know, it's, I can't escape the game.
Yeah. We've been making stuff for too long.
Which is why it's such a thrill to have all these other players too. And everyone who's in this show brings their best. Holy shit. I mean, this is like the TriCast is singing in this one. And so many of our TriCast favorites who couldn't be in this season.
Yeah.
Marissa, Popkin, Joyce, Johnny. There are
so
many people.
By the way, they're texting me and telling me what their strategies would be, the cast who wasn't in it, because they're dying to be in the next season.
Yeah. I'm so excited to make another one whenever we can because it's like it's so fun And it's also fun when you have something new to be excited about. And I think the whole company is excited about it because it's like really good and it's new and it's a nice little notch on everybody's like belt of like, yeah, we fucking did something.
Well,
sick.
we got to make something that we don't usually make in a style we don't usually make it. And we get to see our cast parts of their personalities and personas that we don't usually get to see. And it's thrilling.
Yeah.
I mean, our group chat has not stopped batting around ideas for season 2 since we filmed it in January.
I'll probably every single week of like, oh, we could do this. Oh, I've got 3 more ideas.
Well, I definitely want to do this.
And they're like, some are simple, some are like, no, that's like a season 4 thing. That's too much of a change of the game. Can't do that next. No, the next season actually needs to be almost exactly the same with like 1-2 tiny differences because people don't want things to change that fast. Like this structure is really fun.
Yep.
We don't need to overcomplicate it yet.
I know it's sort of like as I think about next season, part of me goes, "Don't change a thing.
Right.
Just run it back one more time." And obviously there are little wrinkles because it'll
We'll change
play out
the
differently.
games. We'll change
Of
the
course,
things
of
like that.
course.
We'll change what the twist is and when they happen.
But like there, we have ideas of like introducing new powers, new whatever, and like it's that'll be a fun debate amongst us of like when do you roll those out?
Do we have 11 people and 3 killers?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right?
I want a bigger cast. More
I want a bigger
killers.
cast and
We're
more
going to need a
killers.
bigger space.
I
Yeah,
know.
right.
Well, we don't have one.
I'm aware.
Yeah, I know. But we'll make it work. We always do.
We always do.
Any other little fun tidbits?
No, I've stopped
The
scrolling.
only tidbit I have is like what was very fun about it was the sort of on the fly producing. And so while Rachel's in the room doing all the interviews and like kind of getting the story from each person, sort of no one's watching the cocktail hour for a lot of it. So it's
Although I had a monitor and an earpiece on the cocktail hour.
but you can't give it 100% attention.
sure
And also
can't.
you can't anyway because there's 4 conversations. And I'm kind of watching the monitor, but I'm also literally just learning the next structure,
You're
like
memorizing your lines.
making sure that I can correctly explain the game and do the lines and do the setups and think about like, oh, this next game needs to be probably angled this way, or I need to stand over here, and trying to puzzle that out or find something like, oh, there's a mistake. I've got to get when Rachel gets back, I've got to tell her about this mistake. This doesn't make sense.
This doesn't make sense.
And
We
gotta
got to
change
fix
it
this.
fast. And it was really fun. It was just like a fun project.
It was almost
to
like
be-
a puzzle for you while they played our puzzle.
Yeah, because I was like, we got to change this. We can't do this. This doesn't make any sense anymore.
Now that we know what players are playing this win or loss for the group isn't going to function how we wanted it
this
to.
protection doesn't really work the same way anymore. We can go forward with it or we can change it. So
Yeah.
that was really fun about the game. And that's probably a way that like maybe if there was a grand prize, we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, because
Totally.
like we're changing the game on the fly to make it more entertaining, but maybe that is putting someone at a disadvantage potentially.
One of my favorite moments is I was during the cocktail hour, and while people were in the pantry, I was in here doing interviews, but I would keep an ear in the pantry, an ear in the cocktail hour, had them on monitors, and also be interviewing someone. So 3 places at once. And when the murderers had to, spoiler episode 3, kill someone during the cocktail hour, I was watching for it and I never saw it happen. So I was like 5 minutes left in the cocktail hour, and I cut the cameras after that, and I asked all the cam ops, and none of them had seen it happen.
And you asked me, and I was like, no clue.
Keith didn't know if it happened. So then everyone's like changing over to move into the kitchen. We're moving the sets. I know like if it hasn't happened, we have to figure something out. And I see Ash walking towards the bathrooms, and I'm like, is he going to go in the men's or the women's? The men's or the women's? The men's or the women's? And he goes into the women's, and I
Which
dart
is our
in.
gender neutral restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dart in after him, and I'm like, did you kill someone? And he said yes. And I was like, who? And he told me, and I was like, thank God. And I came out. Oh, and then I went back into the bathroom. And I said, was it on camera? And he said yes. And so I just trusted that we got it.
Yeah.
But no one knew, and I didn't know.
I think a question that I'll leave you two, 3 of us, to answer, but also the audience listening, you can comment on YouTube, Spotify, also on our Discord. What is your dream cast for next season or beyond? Because I think a thing that's really fun about this show is thinking about different dynamics and then also the different combinations of people you can put in.
I know there's other people who want to play too, who are just even outside of our casts from some other casts. So like, this show's cool. When are you going to have other people on the show?
I love this show so much, and I think it's so dynamic that I would play again with the same cast.
Yeah.
That's not what we're going to do.
I was thinking that exact same thing.
I know.
But I
I'd run it
totally
back.
How
would.
thrilling would that be to see you re-roll the same set of players, which is, again, not what we're going to do for next season. I mean, but I want to do the rest of our cast. I want to do
Definitely.
people from the multiverse.
The
of,
Burbank Cinematic Universe.
The BCU.
I want to do...
Dropout, are you listening? Smosh, are you listening?
I want to do
Mythical.
All-Stars someday, right? I want to get
You always want to do All Stars.
That's just so fun to say. But then totally, I want to re-roll the exact same players from season 1.
I do too.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a fun show. It's been a great, fresh thing to be excited about in a new year, which is always good. Like when we launched Second Try, there was this like excitement over making something new together as a company, and I think this was one of the first projects since the launch of the streaming company where everyone was really excited because we had to figure it out together, and that is always the best way to like bond as a larger unit, is just figure something out, like solve this puzzle together and make something cool. So I just love when we have projects like that everybody has to put their hand on for it to succeed, and this is one of those.
Killer Dinner finale coming soon. 6-episode season, so I don't know. This is probably being released between episode 4 and 5.
Or 5 and 6.
or
Somewhere
5.
soon.
Because 4's already out.
Oh, okay. Anyway, the finale will be a live watch-along, as Keith said, so we're all going to be together, and we're going to have comments turned on so you can chat along live on the Second Try app. It's going to be a party, watch party.
And don't worry, if you're in a time zone where maybe you're going to miss the first 15 minutes, and you're like, I don't want to join 15 minutes, I'm going to miss stuff, the episode will also post during that live stream. So if you miss the very beginning and you feel like, no, I have to wait 2 hours, you won't. You'll be able to still just stream it on your own. But if you can't join us live...
Oh, yeah, and we got a little surprise.
We have a little surprise at the end of the
live.
live. We'll have something else fun to watch, and that actually won't post until its regular time after that. So... that's a clue there.
Yeah,
But
I'd say more than a clue.
Yeah, whatever. We literally
If they
blatantly
made it this far,
we
they
blatantly
deserve
say it in the advertisement on social media, so I don't know why we're being coy right now. These are the people who are the most
I thought I had
tapped
a
in.
piece of new information for you,
Oh,
but
yeah,
I
you
think
teased
you
it at the
already know. I never teased it. But I was just going to tattletale that the person who chose the snacks for Ghost Kitchen is in this room.
It's Jack. He just grabbed the crafty bag that was closest to the door.
And by the way, thank you, because some snack. Actually, they say some snacks are better than no snacks at all, and they're wrong.
When the promise is, there's snacks, you're like, oh, cool, I like good snacks. Like, no, they're like
They're
like
bad
what's
snacks.
left over.
They're expired snacks.
We have better snacks in the office. Literally, we have the pantry that's being used as the pantry.
No,
for
this is like
shooting.
our on-the-go
It's the
bag
real
for when we
pantry.
do like remote shoots.
So it's like protein bars and stuff that like will fill you up because you're working.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's not like tasty stuff.
And at some point, I think we also said take out any crunchy snacks because we don't want to hear them.
So funny.
And so they're all soft.
And there's no like crinkly bags either. So
They're
it's
all
like
soft.
all stuff that's not very good.
All right, guys, let us know what you like. I don't know. Let us know something. Thanks for watching Killer Dinner. We appreciate you.
Something.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, wait. Keith is with the official Killer Dinner Tripod 2 off theme thong.
Everybody's gonna die,
Do-do-do.
except for the people who are killing the people. Yeah, everybody's gonna die
Do-do-do.
unless they don't die. It's the tripod.
Have a good ass week.
Wow.